and welcome to the regular board meeting of the Las Virgenes Unified School District for September 28th, 2021. Calling the meeting to order, and our first item of business is the flag salute. If our student board member, Ms. Gavin, would lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder to please silence your cell phones and that the board meeting is being recorded. And as always, thank you to the City of Calabasas for providing that service for us and rebroadcasting later. I have nothing to report out of closed session. Approval of agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member? Aye. Board?
Aye.
Thank you. We have an agenda. Approval of minutes of the September 14th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from the September 14th meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member? Aye. Board?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. Staff board communication. Because we have some recognitions, I'm going to go straight to those first. Dr. Stepp, so take it away.
So you want staff com first?
No, I'm going to go to the recognitions first.
Perfect. She is on Las
Then
Virgenes
I'm not
Road.
going to the recognitions first. Then I'm going to go to our student board member, Ms. Gavin.
She's close.
Madam President, members of the board, CHS and Agora are doing great in getting back into the groove of things. Coming off the success of our blood drive, where we received 52 signups, CHS clubs and commissioners are getting ready for our upcoming club rush on Thursday and Friday. Agora and Calabasas had their football game, where Agora won 25-6. The next day, Agora had their homecoming, and it was James Bond themed, with the students loved. They also had their voter registration drive on Tuesday at Nutrition. And in addition, student council representatives are going into all of the student government classes to help those who want to register to vote. Calabasas had their first successful pep week and outdoor rally. We also had our first comedy sports game of the year. Finally, Calabasas announced their homecoming theme, Under the City Lights, and is starting to sell tickets in the upcoming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. One quick question. Is there a minimum age for signing up for the blood drive? Is it 18, 16?
You have to be 16 and you need parents' help with that, but
Okay.
17 and 18, you don't need parent requests.
Very impressive. Thank you very much. Ms. Stein.
Thank you very much. As Ms. Kimmel, when she calls the SOS that we need help, we are here to help wherever we need to. So I had the privilege, it was so much fun, to help out at the lunch at Lindero Canyon Middle School. Yes, I serve food at Lindero, and it was great. And Ms. Kimmel, it's really easy now that the federal government is providing free lunches for schools. There's no money, there's no cash register. You just have to tick them off. And they are polite, our students, and they take their fruit and vegetable, and they are polite. So it was wonderful to see our students in that element. I also had the privilege and pleasure of attending the Calabasas football game, where the halftime show was dedicated to Kevin Cordasco and Something Yellow. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and we have a beloved student who lost his battle with cancer a few years ago, and the foundation still lives on, and his father, Kevin Cordasco, did a great, meaningful speech, words that moved us all, and so did our president, Mrs. Cutbill. So thank you for your inspiration during, always a tough thing. And I don't know, I guess we don't have the cup on loan, but last Friday night was the big Calabasas Agora football game, and to a sold-out crowd. You can go to my Facebook page and see the photos of that sold-out crowd. I've never seen a student section like that before. So much fun, great game, great sportsmanship, and the Agora High School Chargers retained the Las Virgenes Cup. So that was my fun time there.
Thank you, Ms. Stein. Dr. Vadera?
I'll pass this week.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mingus?
Ms. Stein covered most of what I had to say as well. I was able to visit AU Wright to help hand out lunches, and I agree with her that they're very friendly, very polite, and they were willing to share lunches if they had picked up something that wasn't their favorite. That they would give it to a classmate, so.
Thank you very much. Yes, it was a great game, and it was nice to have our city represented with our Mayor Pro Tem, Deborah Klein-Lopez, who is here tonight, who's an Agora parent, and also David Shapiro from the city of Calabasas. So really nice event. And that earlier that week, Dr. Stepp and staff had a breakfast for the varsity members of the two football teams. Was it? There we are. Holding the cup, we made waffles, and it was a nice breakfast. They all talked about leadership, integrity, about a friendly rivalry, and it was just a really nice, nice event. So very much appreciated that. And yes, oh, sorry, Mr. Lawrence.
That's all right.
Who is, yes,
I will forego due to my remote location today.
sure, okay, great. Okay, Dr. Stepp?
Recognition time, Madam President?
Yes.
All right, Dr. Cypher, shall we meet you at the podium?
Forgot I get to go up to the podium.
Madam President, members of the board, my pleasure and honor this evening to, this is the first time that we've had our Employees of the Month here in person since January 2020, so we're very excited about that, and couldn't be more thrilled to do it with the two folks that we have here, Ms. Rachel Golds and Ms. Liz Cangelosi. I'll bring their principals up right now to talk a little bit about them. Dr. McClay, lead off with you to talk about our classified Employee of the Month.
We're in person, that's so fun. Where are my glasses? Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepp, and cabinet, I'm thrilled to be here tonight to recognize Liz Cangelosi as our LVUSD Classified Employee of the Month. Hi, Liz. So, stand with me. So, Liz, in close collaboration with Adrian Nowak and Leslie Schwartz, has taken on the monumental task of reopening and reorganizing our PACs. She's worked to redesign and develop our systems of booking, customer service. She's redesigned PAC trainings and has worked to rebuild our overhire team. She's worked to overhaul our PAC booking and workflow management system to eliminate 40 calendars, yes, 40 calendars, and convert them into one streamlined system. She's worked to build a 3-year calendar for the first time in the history of the PACs. All of these efforts would not be possible without her innovative and adaptive approach to her work. Students will benefit from her efforts for years to come. Simultaneously, she has worked closely with our students and booster organizations to plan and organize our school site events in the PAC. Liz is always so helpful and supporting of our students who aren't always the most organized in their requests. She's clear and thoughtful in her work. She's endlessly positive and collaborates with students and staff in such a kind manner. It's so evident in how she presents herself and how she interacts with others that she has the students' and community's best interest at heart in all that she does. And she is most deserving of this recognition, not just today, but every day. Thank you.
Ms. Cangelosi, this is a particularly nice honor because I know how good you are at what you do. I know how positive you are, how big picture you get of the role of the PACs and how it serves our students and our educational program. And I am so incredibly proud to present this to you and that you are our classified employee.
Thank you so much. It's always been a privilege from day one to work in that building. Anyone who's seen me in there knows it's just my happy place. I sing in there. I love it in there. I dance and skip around and can't wait to hear the kids rehearsing and the music playing. And it's just the best job in the whole district. So I feel silly taking this when it's all about stuff I already get. And it's just the best job in the world. So thank you for letting me be there and do it. And it is my privilege.
Next up, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Duncan.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepanovsky and cabinet, it is my extreme honor, along with a cheering squad outside from Bay Laurel and online on Zoom, hi everyone on Zoom, to help recognize and honor the amazing Mrs. Rachel Golds as the Certificated Employee of the Month. Rachel teaches 3rd grade at Bay Laurel, is our grade level lead, as well as our co-teacher in charge. Rachel and I share a love for Brene Brown, and we have adopted her motto that we can do hard things and add it and have fun at the end of it. And she has exemplified this motto in every way possible, and I'm so glad that she's being recognized today. Rachel, I want to personally thank you for all of the late night texts, all of the brainstorming, random phone calls, even while you're on vacation, to help me problem solve. You share great insights with me, and you help me in so many ways that you don't even recognize, and I can't do my job without you. Thank you for that. Without further ado, I think it best that we hear from her students as to why she's so deserving of this recognition.
Congrats on getting the Teacher of the Month. And one example why you're a great teacher is because when people are having trouble in math, you actually help them and don't give us one little piece of help and then tell us to do the rest. And also, when people are acting up and always being crazy, you don't yell.
I think we have one more, a quick one.
Congratulations, Miss Golds. Thank you for being my 3rd grade teacher. I like you as my teacher because you make math fun.
I have to throw in there, speaking of math, I already analyzed our CAST data. We went from a 50% met and exceeded to 70% in 3rd grade this past year. It jumped up 20%. Go 3rd grade. Congratulations, Rachel.
Rachel, on behalf of the board and the district, and honestly, you come from such a family of tradition of education in our district. I know how proud your father would be, and Elka, and I'm just so honored to have you here tonight and that you are being honored because I know what a fantastic educator you are. And thank you for all you do for kids. We really appreciate it.
I wish I could wing it like you did and just come out here, but I had to write it down or I would forget everything, so.
She's a performer.
And I am not, so. All right, so thank you, Madam President, members of the board and cabinet. I wanted to start by saying thank you for this incredible honor tonight. I have deep respect and admiration for everything that you do to make this district a wonderful place to work. Anyone that knows me knows that I am far more comfortable doing just about anything else in the world than speaking in front of a group of people, unless they're 8 and 9 years old. When my mom asked me this weekend how long I had to talk, if like 5 or 10 minutes, my husband just laughed and said we'd be lucky if she talked 120 seconds. So I've been teaching in the district for 18 years, and this entire time I've been at Bay Laurel. We started there, it was a very young staff, and we grew up together and got married, had kids. We went through pink slips together, ups and downs, budget cuts, class sizes, even some fires. And now we've added a worldwide pandemic to our list of accomplishments. And I've realized that I work with a bunch of superheroes. But I can't imagine being anywhere else with a greater, more dedicated group of staff. I love the parents, I love the staff, and I love, of course, the kids. Of all my years at Bay Laurel, I've had an opportunity to work closely with most of the staff. One of those people in particular, Julie Atkinson, my co-TIC.
Thank you for your, she's out there on the lawn. But thank you for your love and advice over the years and your ray of sunshine on our campus. Along with Julie, I've been teaching third grade for 16 of my 18 years in Las Virgenes. I've worked with many different teams and curriculum changes, but for the last 8 or 9 years, I've had the honor of working with Jody Larkin and Vanessa Savage on the third grade team. And not only have we been colleagues, but I've also been the pleasure of being a parent in both their classes with my girls. Above all of that, we're very close friends and exchange text messages at all hours of the night. They've seen me when I've reached my true limit, and they still choose to speak to me and love me. So I don't think that we would have made it past the last year and a half without each other. So thank you to Jody for keeping us grounded and sane and very well organized. And thank you to Vanessa, who my daughter refers to as our little Disney princess, for keeping us on track with your smile and reminding us of what we still need to do or what we forgot to do. Dr. Duncan, thank you for this nomination. I feel like you should be up here getting an award for everything that you do. I don't know anyone that could walk into Bay Laurel in a normal year and do what you've done, and then adding the pandemic on top of it. You've shown us all that you're an exceptional leader. Every day you bring a lot of energy, positivity, and passion, not to mention you're like crazy organized. So it's very evident that the kids love you and the parents love you, and clearly your staff adores you. So we are very lucky to have you, and I feel very fortunate to work with you and to learn from you. And that being said, we're not going to let you leave. You have to stay with us for a while. To my husband, Ryan, the most supportive husband on the planet. He's moved furniture, hung bulletin boards, and listened to more teacher stories than anyone could possibly endure. In the March of 2020, when we shut down and had 24 hours to move my classroom, my husband took his truck to campus, filled it with supplies, talked me off the ledge, and helped me set up a classroom at home. And not to mention, he's grown very patient of the Amazon delivery truck that comes to the house, and I can just smile and say it's for my classroom. My 2 girls, who aren't very little anymore, but grew up at Bay Laurel, thank you for the long days that you spent on campus cleaning up, setting up, or so I could set up to go to meetings. You guys have cleaned my libraries, put stickers on countless papers, and made samples of all my projects and inker charts. And it turns out they're much better artists than their mother. And thank you both for not losing it every time someone asked you, aren't you Mrs. Gold's kid? One of them loved it, the other one did not. In closing, I quite literally couldn't be standing here today if it weren't for my father. Many of you knew him and knew how much he truly valued public education, and above all else believed that there was no greater purpose or calling than a public school teacher. His love for the schools, and in particular Las Virgenes, was evident in everything he did and that he instilled in us. I know if he were here today, we would still be laughing and trying to figure out how we could have possibly gone from our long talks as father and daughter about the comments on my own report card that said she talks too much and is very social and needs to focus a bit more and be less distracted by friends, to standing here with all of you today. So thank you very much.
We will resume with staff board communication. Dr. Stepp.
I've got some stuff we want folks that are coming in here, so we'll go to Dr. Gleason first.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, I have a couple slides to share with you. I want to give an update on our grant programs. Oh, there we go. So this is the season of categorical programs and grant programs returning. So just to give a quick update of where we are, we have these are the grants we currently have. We have a CTE grant that covers the costs of a lot of CTE teachers, a 2-pay grant that covers counseling center. We have multiple grants that were received last year to provide support for supporting student growth post-pandemic. And we have scholarship grants for special education. So millions and millions of dollars right there that are currently being received and managed to support our students. As we look on the horizon, the next slide shares some, these grants are on the horizon. So There's some learning recovery funds that Ms. Falk and her team will be working together to develop a plan by December 1st on how to mitigate the impact of the pandemic on students with disabilities. So we'll be talking about these in Pathways and Finance Committee. There's also going to be new money coming in for educator effectiveness and A through G completion that is going to focus on professional development. And then finally, on the horizon, the governor's budget had a lot of new money in it for teacher development and licensure. And so with our new credential programs through Center edX, we'll be eligible for those. So a lot of each grant has management and compliance requirements along with it, along with budgeting. But just to paint the picture, there's a lot out there, and we'll work with Finance Committee and Pathways as to how to best approach these programs.
Mr. Klein. Got you out of order, sorry.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, we are especially thrilled to have students back at this time of year because we can reassemble our student tech teams. So this is one of our student tech teams in action. This is the Agoura High School team. We spent a little bit of time with them the last couple of weeks, getting them ready, getting them geared up, getting them trained, so that they could be successful in supporting their fellow students. And we also have a really strong tech team over at Lindero Canyon, who is shooting now hands-on videos, which is great. How to fix your laptops, all of those kinds of things. They're building a website that we're going to share district-wide with student-led videos training kids how to solve problems. And
Hi, this is the Gen Tech team from Lindero Canyon Middle School. We'll be showing you a video on how to do a factory reset. For more information, go to umc2.lvusd.org. Step 1.
So cool. So anyway, we're going to have a website resource with all of the quick how-to videos to solve basic problems and get our kids active in some good career technical education.
Ms. Falk.
Madam President, members of the board, as Dr. Gleason just mentioned, the district recently received monies from the state. The state released $550 million to target learning loss in special education and alternative dispute resolution. The district is set to receive approximately $800,000 of that money to be spent in those two areas. The three components that are upcoming are we will be sending out a parent survey to get some ideas about what areas they believe their child may be lacking in terms of learning loss. We will be doing a staff survey. And then I need to submit a plan to the state to be approved about how we're going to spend those monies.
Ms. Chambers.
Madam President, members of the board, I wanted to share that Dr. Cypress, Ms. Sweeney, and I had the opportunity to attend an in-person job fair that was hosted by the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce last week. During the job fair, we were able to touch base with several applicants, and we already have interviews actually as a follow-up scheduled for some of those applicants later this week. Just wanted to share a couple of pictures from the job fair, including Dr. Cypress's welcome wheel that new employees get to spin once they are hired.
Ms. Kintz.
Madam President, members of the board, last week we had our first collaborative Fappa meeting between our elementary visual and performing arts teachers and the newly appointed secondary visual and performing arts grade level lead teachers. It was a very positive and productive meeting where programming, best practices, classroom management strategies, VAPA standards, of course, projects and lessons were discussed. The photo here is of at Willow Elementary, and this is in Lynn Carlson's class. She's both visual and performing arts. Principal Reynolds was actually in the class that day, and the students were blending paint colors to match their skin color, and she said she learned a lot about the different colors that can be blended to make up the exact color of skin. And you can tell the students were really into it.
Ms. Kimmel.
First off, I'd like to thank all of my board members and the cabinet members and district office staff who helped serve cafeteria meals over the first month of school. I think Dr. Stepanovsky got the prize for the most days at the lunch line, so I don't know how we would have survived the first month without all of your help. I did want to take a moment to share my sincere appreciation to Christine Torres and our accounting staff. We've almost completed the field work of our annual independent audit, and we have a new audit firm. So while the annual audit is always a heavy lift, the new auditors have added a very unique perspective to the task as they have a different lens and a different set of expectations for our team. So it's been a very arduous challenge to provide all of the details the new firm has asked for, including many new regulations for the ASB reporting. With all the hard work, we're happy so far to have only received positive feedback from the auditors, and I appreciate all the work the team has put in to get to this point. So thank you.
Dr. Cypress.
Madam President, members of the board, we often brag about the accomplishments of our staff, but this is one of perhaps one of the things that I think we have to be most proud of our team. Jim, can you cue up the slide, please, on our graphic here? So the LVUSD staff vaccination rate for all employees is a whopping 98.2%. Kudos Team LVUSD. And again, I can't say enough about how much we appreciate our employees prioritizing their safety, the safety of our students, the safety of our fellow colleagues, and the safety of our community members. So a huge testament to all the folks here in LVUSD. We have some folks that are working through different medical or religious exemptions, but all in all, an incredible number for us, and kudos to the entire team.
I think I'm good now. All right, Mr. Klein, what do we got? Back to the very beginning. Whew. All right.
Okay.
This is a standard question we get about masking and not masking and requirements and modified quarantines. And so these are the folks that set those guidelines for us, the governor, California Public Health, CDPH, and LA County Public Health, and we follow their guidelines closely. If folks are interested, those are phone numbers and emails they can reach out to. Next slide, Mr. Klein. And we get lots of questions about vaccine mandates. Our students are in excess of 88% vaccinated, those eligible. That's according to LA County's public health data collection, which is phenomenal. And we just saw our staff is over 98% vaccinated, which is terrific. And just today, the governor announced that a vaccine mandate is on the table. Of course, for our students who are 12, 13, 14, and 15, it's still under emergency use authorization. Difficult to say with a mask on. And for our 16, 17s and above, it is FDA approved. So they does sound like at the end of October, Pfizer will be approved for 5 through 11-year-olds. That's exciting, but again, that is EUA also, not full FDA approval. So we hope that those EUAs come through and also full FDA approval after review of the data. So if you're interested in vaccination requirements for students, these are also folks you can reach out to. I think it is on their desk and they'll be contemplating something soon. It sounds like the governor is in the front of this one. Next slide. We have recently moved into modified quarantine. So this is data from yesterday. Our high water mark in student quarantines was around 130, and as of yesterday, we were at 38 students in quarantine. So our nurses and our health clerks are doing an awesome job of working through this. It is more complex for them to navigate. It does involve more testing. We've added a testing day for our families. So we have Tuesday at Agora, Wednesday at Calabasas, and Thursday for the first time this week will be at the district office. So we're excited that this is working and has more kids in class. You can see the middle school numbers. Our 6th grade was really the one that was the biggest challenge since they are not eligible, the vast majority are not eligible for a vaccine yet had 6 periods. So each of those schools had probably 25 or 30 in quarantine last time I shared with the board. So it's excited to have these numbers.
Is Dr. Stepanovsky, is the decrease in the number of students quarantined, that's because we're now following the CDPH guidelines and we don't have to quarantine as many students who may have potentially had contact, or are we also seeing a reduced number of students testing positive, or is it both?
I think we're seeing similar, well, I'd say the first one's the major factor. The implementation of the modified quarantine is allowing students who are not symptomatic and are testing negative to stay in their classrooms. They can't do other activities. They can't be involved in sports, other enrichments, AYSO, baseball, all those kinds of things, but they are allowed back in classrooms. So that's the most significant factor. I will say that we are seeing a decrease in cases also, as we're slowly seeing a decrease in the percentage of positivity and the infectious rate as well. So our case numbers generally model the trends we see across the entire county.
Thank you.
I just mentioned this a second ago. I think we ranked 6th out of 100 school districts, 6th out of 80 school districts in LA County, and there we are. The most recent data from September 19th from LA County, 88.7% of our 12-year-old plus are vaccinated. Next slide. So I see that we have some of Calabasas' finest here with us tonight, and I'm here to address a very serious issue. To be candid, to hold no punches board and those in the audience, the district has some very significant needs. One of those is air conditioners. We identified 2 years ago over $30 million in air conditioning units. There's a picture of the air conditioning unit, which is 60 years old, at Sumac Elementary. I'm looking to our Director of Maintenance Operations for confirmation. She's confirming. That thing is held together with bubble gum and tape. Our worst schools are right there, Lupin Hill, estimated at 2.1, Willow at 3, Agora at 3.2, Sumac at 3.6, and Calabasas, which is almost exclusively the H building, where I'm guessing a number of our teachers are from. My 2 children attended, so I get daily updates from them as well. These are a horrible air conditioning units, so they are failing air conditioning units. No way to sugarcoat it. The board, in their wisdom, placed a $200 million bond before the voters back in 2019, and this was one of the star projects on there. Also on there was $30 million or $40 million in roofs. Now, we haven't had any rain in a long time, but if you talk to those folks at AC Stell and other places, our roofs are failing as well. So these are very significant, legitimate needs that we've known have been a problem, and they are not going away. I think the H building, I think, was working last week, and yesterday and today are nice temperature, but Thursday and Friday, I think we have triple digits coming. Next slide. Some of the things specific about the Calabasas H building are it's a horrible system. There's 2 units, 50 tons each, and they managed 34 classrooms. So if there's any one problem, at least 17 of those classrooms go down. Since June, we put $100,000 into them. Ms. Pachetto and her crew, especially Assistant Director of Maintenance Operations Sean, have been on campus extensively to work on this unit. It is a failing unit. There's no other way to sugarcoat this. We have been working hard on it. We'll continue to work hard on it, but it needs over $7 million overhaul, and we don't have that. Now, the board is very seriously contemplating another bond, and I appreciate our staff, and I know there's many more outside who have taken time away from their family to be here, and I hope when we do that next bond, you will join us. We need you. We need your voices and your support when we go out to a bond. Measure V missed by 103 votes. The H building would have a $8 million air conditioning system right now if Measure V had passed. I'm not sure how I could be any more direct about this. It's crappy. It's a crappy working condition for you to be in. It's a crappy learning environment for our children to be in. It is not acceptable, and there are a lot of significant needs. This bond that the board is very seriously contemplating, as they did with Measure V, has very serious projects in it. It's not fluff. It's not extra stuff. These are things we need to have. Leaking roofs and air conditioners in a very hot environment are a real challenge, and it's tough for kids to learn when it's 89, 90, 95 degrees. I know Principal Exner shared with principals a master list of classrooms that are open every period. I know it's not easy to move, but that is an option for you. If I was a teacher there, I would be telling my students on Thursday and Friday, I will see you period 2 here and period 3 here and period 4 there. And I know that's inconvenient, and I hate to even ask you, or to let you know about that, but that is an option for our teachers. So I know we're going to hear from our teachers, and please understand the board and I share that this is an unacceptable situation. We had a plan in 2019 and missed by a fraction.
Can I ask you a clarifying question, please? So in our budget generally, it's gone, since I've been on the board, from probably a low of maybe 100 million to maybe right now 140 million or something. Is there a place in our budget to spend $30 million on air conditioning? Does the state I know does not provide, they used to, many, many years ago, provide money for facilities, but they don't anymore. It's all lump sum, right?
Correct.
So can you explain that if we were to spend $30 million on air conditioning and roofs, which, well, I guess the 30 million was just the air conditionings, what that would look like in the district?
So our current budget is about $120 million, and we allocate about $1 million a year for all of our projects, and we have actually an information item this evening to talk about the work we've done this summer. So that is the board's allocation because the state does not give us any funding for our facilities. The cost, if we were to, say, take a $30 million project, would have to come out of our operating costs. So if we use round numbers, say it's a $100 million budget, 85% is for staff. So that only leaves $15 million to pay for utilities, transportation, additional special ed costs, things of that nature. There isn't even, it would require a lot of layoffs to effectuate that kind of a budget implication, so.
Districts go out for bonds.
Correct.
And when we do a bond, we ideally like to have a chairperson from every school, right? From every staff at every school.
Yes.
I'm not looking at you out there.
Okay, Ms. Stein, if I could.
Yeah,
I want to hear from our teachers who took the time to come down here. Before I call you up, I will underscore what Dr. Stepp said. It was March 2020 stands out to me, not because it's when we shut down and the pandemic really took hold, but because our bond lost. And it was frustrating on nights at the call center to have basically the committee and the board there making the calls because we all knew what it meant when it failed. We knew it would mean leaky roofs and it would mean hot classrooms, and it was just a horrible, horrible gutting loss. So, but I want to hear from our speakers who took the time and come down. So when I call your name, if you can come up and state your name. So Ryan Bergstrom. And there's a 3-minute timer. I think you'll hear something when there's a minute left. People often think that's the end. Don't let it faze you.
Thank you.
Sure, go for it.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepanovsky, and members of the cabinet, my name is Ryan Bergstrom, and I've had the pleasure of serving this community for 10 years. And I've had the honor of being elected faculty president at Calabasas for the last 2. While I have not spent much time in the H building over the past 10 years, I stand here today with my colleagues to express the frustration and disappointment in that building. While we may just be one of the many schools in our district, our site has 1,800 students pass through our halls every day. At any given time, half of those students sit in the H building for at least 2 hours. That's about 10% of our district students. 10% of our students at any time may be subject to the building's HVAC system that is so old, we now expect to move our classrooms outside in 90 degrees heat to feel relief. An HVAC system that is so large, it requires 3 large fans to operate. But if any one fan breaks, the often celebrated UV filtration system fails to work. Again, 10% of our students are sitting and attempting to learn while temperatures rise in the summer or plummet in the winter amidst a pandemic. The EPA article, Why Indoor Air Quality is Important in Schools, states that temperature and humidity cannot be overlooked because of comfort concerns. Thermal factors underlie many complaints about poor air quality. Furthermore, temperature and humidity are among many factors that affect indoor contaminant levels, which may be 2 to 5 times and occasionally more than 100 times greater than outdoor levels. The CDC article, Ventilation in Schools and Childcare Programs, claims that ventilation is one component of maintaining healthy environments and is an important COVID-19 prevention strategy for schools. Our own California Department of Public Health Indoor Air Quality section specifies that good indoor air quality is an important component of a healthy indoor environment and can help schools reach their primary goal of educating children. Failure to prevent or respond promptly to indoor air quality problems can increase long and short-term health effects for staff, and in rare cases contribute to life-threatening conditions. Proper maintenance of indoor air quality is more than a quality issue. It encompasses safety and stewardship of your investment in students, staff, and facilities. The physical pandemic is giving way to a mental pandemic. My colleagues face rising anxiety, not only because they can't find comfort in their rooms, but also because the basic safety features could stop working. We face difficulties in teaching that lead to learning loss, either because we have to move, which takes time, and then we don't have the equipment, which takes away from a planned lesson, or we stay, and students as well as teachers lose focus, become fatigued, or have to leave for relief. We would like a promise, just a promise, that CHS will have its HVAC replaced. And we want a timeline as to when it will be replaced. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Ms. Capel?
Sure, Mr. Lawrence, please.
Dr. Stepanovsky, last board meeting, I asked the question about whether or not the ventilation systems being broken for AC were impacting the circulation of air through the filtration systems we purchased. And we said the answer was no, that all the issues were related to cooling, but that none of the actual ventilation systems that we had installed for COVID circulation were actually impacted by the current HVAC. Is that changed at Calabasas?
That sounds like a Ms. Pichette question.
Ms.
She has said it has not
Pacetto
changed.
saying that has not changed. No.
So just to be clear, the issue is the coolant, which I'm not downplaying it. This is a horrible issue. I've got 2 kids at Sumac with the #2 school with problems, the highest school after. So I hear it. I just want to make sure that the air filtration systems have not been impacted or been down on our campuses.
She's saying correct. Okay, thank you. Christy,
I
and I
suppose
apologize if
there-
I get this wrong, is it Heredia? Yes. Thank you, okay. Thank you so much.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepanovsky, cabinet members. My name is Christina Heredia, and I've been working in the H building for 25 years. My classroom is one of the rare ones that is usually at a comfortable temperature. So I come here as a representative of my colleagues who are not as fortunate. The H building HVAC system hasn't worked properly since I started in 1996. The building was remodeled in 2000, but the HVAC system, to my knowledge, wasn't replaced. I've heard a couple of times and seen emails where people reference the system as being 20 years old, but when we moved back in after the remodel, we were told it wasn't replaced. It was given Band-Aid fixes. And here we are 20 years later, still applying Band-Aids. I understand that money is the #1 issue in replacing the system. We can't replace it because the last bond didn't pass. But what about the bond before that, or the bond before that? Respectfully, when I have a health or safety issue in my home, I don't wait to get a raise. I shift funds, I use my credit, I get a loan. In the past, the staff and students in the H building have been good sports. We moved to another class with all our materials and all our students, losing teaching time. We bring in oscillating fans. We go outside, which doesn't work well when it's 100 degrees in August, September, October, or when it rains like it did the first day of school this year. But this year, we have the added issue of COVID. Air filtration is essential. We can no longer be good sports, and we shouldn't have to make the choice each day to go outside or move to another room. Both options cost instructional time and are disruptive to the learning process. Remember, the upstairs H building and some downstairs rooms have no access to the air outside. None. No windows open, and many classroom doors do not open to the outside. The district installed air filtration systems. That system only works if the HVAC system is on to filter air. There are days it is not on in some rooms. No air filtering in a room with potentially infected people. I'm not talking about cool air. I'm talking about any air at all. None moving through some of the rooms. Just 38 kids in a room that isn't ventilated. In terms of the heat, in our rooms, we were given portable air conditioning units, but the directions on the box say to hook the venting tube up to a window. The H building doesn't have windows that open. A hole was cut in our ceiling tiles and the hose vents to the attic. If the point of the system was to filter the fresh air to or from the window, none of us are comfortable with the attic air being used in place of the fresh air. Again, I get that it's a money issue, and the H building occupants truly appreciate that this year the district responded quickly and to the best of their ability in mitigating the usual beginning of the school year issues with the HVAC system. But again, we're dealing with the health and safety of staff and students. We can no longer afford to continue with the Band-Aid fixes. It's been over 25 years that we've been dealing with this. The staff of the H building has lost faith in the Band-Aid attempts to give us a safe environment in every classroom in the H building. We would like a guarantee that when and if the next bond passes, money will be specifically allocated to replace the HVAC system.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry, Ms. Cabot. So can we get clarity on this? I mean, this is a really serious issue. So we've heard 2 different people say, and I saw a bunch of head shaking east and west in the crowd there, that there are days when there is 0 air coming through that system, which means that the air filter, I see a lot of north and south right now, which tells me a lot of people are agreeing. That means there's 0 air filtration system happening. So the teachers in the classroom who are seeing it are saying this, but our facilities team is saying that's not happening. So where's the break here?
Ms. Pacetto, if you would like to come up. So sorry.
While she's coming up, I'd like to address Mr. Bergstrom and Ms. Reddy's questions. Mr. Bergstrom, when will it be fixed? I promise you, it'll be fixed when the next bond passes. Ms. Reddy, the air conditioning bin, I don't know if you heard my earlier comments, this project was a major part of Measure V.
Yes,
it was a promise in Measure V. I can't speak to earlier, in 2000, I believe it was fixed, Ms. Kimmel? Do we think it was fixed in 2000? I was not here.
I do know that they craned in new units in 2000, so.
So allegedly we craned in new units in 2000. It doesn't really matter. They're crappy and not working right now. So it will absolutely be in the next bond project, and when that will be,
Top of the list.
we'll explore. Ms. Pichetto.
So I just want to clarify the ventilation. I've had an outside vendor and our own HVAC techs take a look at it. There is always airflow. It might not be 100% in every single classroom, but there is always airflow. The dampers don't close all the way, and the air conditioning units have been working. So it's been providing the ventilation. They just are not cooling in those rooms. And the portable units were brought in to bring cooling to the rooms. That was it, just to cool inside those classrooms.
Are the portable units pulling air from the outside or from the attic?
Well, it's taking the heat out into the attic, and it's circulating the air through the unit, which has a filter in it.
Okay.
So it's pulling hot air from the room and dumping it outside?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, my next speaker is Kathy Krychek. Did I say that right? Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepanovsky, and members of the cabinet, though we are genuinely appreciative of the steps being taken recently to mitigate the working conditions in the H building, this seems to us to be a case of too little too late. Every principal from Jay Guidetti through CJ Foss would promise us the district would fix the issues over the summer, but we came back every year to the same issues year after year. Given that a high-level administrator was heard joking at the end of a Zoom meeting last year about how the district might finally have to fix the CHS-H building AC, given the lack of response for 2 decades, and given the almost absurdly contradictory reasons that we have been given as to the nature of the problem, we're having difficulty believing the situation must wait for a bond measure that may or may not ever pass. We have been told alternately that A, those of us complaining were menopausal and there was no real problem. B, the teachers are causing the problem by trying to prompt the system to turn the heaters on. C, the teachers can't be the problem because the thermostat is controlled by the district. And D, there is no problem when the air circulation shuts off. We were told just weeks ago it was designed to shut off, even when teachers and students are in class, to save energy, so we just need to adapt. Those of us who work upstairs in the H building deal with rooms filled with 40 people at temperatures over 90 degrees and with humidity at upwards of 80%. We are working in drenched clothing day after day and leave the day feeling sick from the heat to do it all again the next day, and our students don't have it much better during the hours they are in our classroom. We're tired of working in these conditions, and we're tired of what seem to be excuses. It seems to us that it's the district's responsibility to ensure our working conditions are tolerable and reasonably safe. The district has had over 20 years to make this happen. We need a more creative solution than to wait for a bond measure. Teachers and students have waited long enough, and COVID isn't waiting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, my next speaker is Kelly Chuo. I'm not sure how to say it, sorry. Thank you. If you can, all speakers state your name at the beginning. Thank you.
Hi, my name
For the
is Kelly Cho. Okay. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepanovsky, and members of the cabinet, thank you all for allowing me to speak and taking time out of your schedules to hear my concerns. I'm a very proud mom of a student at Calabasas High School. For those who know me, I am known to be a woman of few words, but definitely a person who takes action. I am grateful to have access to such an extraordinary education for my child. The last 18 months have been tough to navigate for my daughter and our family. From dealing with COVID-19 to online learning and a multitude of other issues linked to this pandemic, it has been a very challenging time. It brings me joy to see my children back at school. Excuse me. And socializing with their friends and classmates. For my child, this pandemic has brought on an extraordinary amount of anxiety linked to health, school, along with college admissions, among many other issues. Being back at school has brought excitement and joy, but it has also ignited even more anxiety because of the unsafe air and the lack of proper and healthful ventilation. Breathing the stale air of a class full of students is not ideal. How may we utilize the state-of-the-art filtering air filters, virus filtering air filters, if the HVAC system is not operating in the building? How is my child supposed to be able to concentrate and excel at school when she is constantly worried she may bring COVID home and endangering our family? The students here at Calabasas High School are resilient and tough, no doubt. But let's not add to the challenge of dealing with all the adventures of being a teenager and then venturing out on their own. The students, your students, should be able to spread their wings and not be distracted by the fact and wonder if today will be their last day on earth just because the air that they breathe is subpar. Please help our children and find a way to replace the HVAC system in the H building. Every one of you up here take action and care about the students and staff in the district. I have seen you all at graduations, concerts, athletic and community events. I want to thank each and every one of you for opening up our schools safely. From the COVID vaccination clinics to the disinfecting of the classrooms, the health screening procedures, the state-of-the-art MERV 13 air filters for the HVAC systems, and even our very own superintendent and his daughter volunteering for the clinical trial of the Pfizer vaccine. Please find a way to help our students be able to study and learn without worrying about contracting this horrific virus. I am grateful for your attention and willingness to listen to the health experts in implementing the proper safety precautions for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cho.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Kaylee Essen. Hi. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepanovsky, and members of the cabinet. 6 years ago, I sat as a brand new LVSD teacher in this same room. The start of school meetings for new teachers were held here, and I learned much about the district I was about to become a part of. Of all the things I learned, what stuck with me the most was LVSD's commitment to the welfare and empowerment of its students and staff. Throughout my years here in LVSD, I have experienced that this commitment is not just words, but actions taken. This has never been more true than during the past year and a half of the COVID-19 pandemic. Each school year presents new and unique challenges as it unfolds. However, the issue of the failing HVAC system in CHS's H building is not a new one or a unique one. During the 5 years that I've been a teacher in the H building, the HVAC system has been a constant issue. It seems to be almost tradition for the AC to not work on the hottest days of the year and for the heat to stop working on the coldest. Each new school year, I strive to make my classroom a place where students feel welcomed, safe, and ready to learn. Despite my best efforts, the faulty HVAC system has had a negative impact on the classroom environment. My classroom, H104, is on the first floor of the H building. The single classroom door opens to the hallway, and the view from the only window is the same hallway. There is no direct access outside from my classroom. A year and a half ago, these details were simply facts to me. A year and a half of a pandemic and 6.5 weeks of school with a problematic HVAC system later, they are a cause for concern. The EPA's website states the following in regards to why indoor air quality is important to schools. Indoor air quality in schools is of particular concern. Proper maintenance of indoor air is more than a quality issue. It encompasses safety and stewardship of the investment in students, staff, and facilities. It is an important component of a healthy indoor environment and can help schools reach their primary goal of educating children. During this first portion of the school year, the concerns listed within the EPA's report have been witnessed firsthand by both myself and my colleagues. While our resilient students have rallied to the challenge of doing their best to learn in a less than an ideal classroom setting, the impact of the faulty HVAC system has still been felt. As the classroom temperature rises, the already short attention spans of my freshmen and sophomores decreases. They become distracted more easily. Bathroom and water breaks begin to occur more frequently, and work quality quickly declines. By the last period of the day, it is not uncommon for, "Essen, why is it so hot in here?" to be the first thing students say to me upon entering the classroom. I understand why there is no magical, immediate fix for the H building's HVAC system. I understand the impact that the local bond measure not passing has had on the district's plan to modernize all school sites. I understand why, but my students do not. In the eyes of my students, this is just one more thing they are being asked to endure. LVSD's highest commitment is to its students and staff. Likewise, mine is to my students and colleagues. The story of my classroom is but one of many. I stand before you as a representative of the many Calabasas High School students and staff members who will not have the opportunity to share their stories with you tonight. As their representative, it is incumbent upon me to ask you to take the next necessary steps in order to resolve this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Nicole Connolly.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepanovsky, and members of the cabinet. I'm Nicole Connolly, English teacher at CHS, and this is my 18th year in the H building. Maya Angelou said, "People will never forget what you said, forget what you did, but people will never forget how you have made them feel." And since we've been given permission to feel, we will tell you. Let's start with unsafe. The community has been told that necessary measures have been taken to ensure the safety of students and staff. We've been fed the mantra, as long as the air is circulating, it is being purified of COVID by the UV systems we've installed. Well, there have been times when the air is unequivocally not circulating. And even if it is circulating, some rooms have reached upwards of 90 degrees. That's unacceptable. For some of us, it is potentially a matter of life or death. Unsafe. We feel unsupported. We were recently provided with portable AC units. Thank you. However, this begs the question, why wasn't this an option years ago when you were first made aware of the oppressive heat? When winter rolls around and the system isn't working properly, we give the students a heads up and ask them to dress warmly. We bundle up in jackets, hats, and gloves, and then strategically peel off those layers depending on our class size. Writing, typing, and learning are difficult when you can't feel your fingers. Don't get us started on what happens when it rains. Additionally, some teachers cannot run their portable ACs and their smart boards at the same time without blowing a fuse, thus forcing them to tag team each other and coordinate their lessons accordingly. Unsupported. We feel undervalued. Our HVAC has been a problem for more than 20 years. A safe, comfortable learning and working environment for our students and for us is not too much to ask. An environment comparable to yours and to our fellow colleagues is not too much to ask. How does this translate into how we feel? We feel like we don't matter. Because if we did, funds would have been earmarked for this when the problem was first brought to your attention. It would not be left to the whim of the voters on a bond measure. Undervalued. We look forward to feeling better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Brad
Can I ask
Holman.
a just quick question? This is the first time I've heard about the heater being an issue. So if I know that we're having
Mr. Lawrence, can I get through the next speaker first, and then we'll have a discussion? Be great.
Right.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman?
Hello, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Stepanovsky, and members of the cabinet. My name is Brad Bowman, and while I've only been in the H building for 5 years, I'd like to share a couple of thoughts with you about my conversations with the daily inhabitants of the H building. Pandemic-driven instruction has provided challenges that we as educators never could have imagined at the beginning of our careers. We as professionals have rose to the challenge of teaching during a global pandemic and fulfilled our contractual obligations. Many went above and beyond those contractual obligations. The district also has many responsibilities which we respect and we acknowledge, and one of those is providing students with a safe learning environment. The phrases you're air on today is a common exchange between history teachers in the H building, and we feel the unreliability and inconsistency of the HVAC system have been ongoing for years. History teachers at CHS feel our complaints over the years have fallen on deaf ears, and a plethora of Band-Aids have been used to provide temporary fixes that only result in future failures. While we respect the district's movement by providing portable ACs, we do not feel they are a viable option going forward. When I run my portable HVAC, students are unable to charge their laptops on the east side of the room because the power will short out. Our wonderful custodial staff is constantly taken away from their work because they have to reset the breakers in a building that cannot support these units. They should not be expected to do this on top of everything else that they provide and are responsible for in providing a safe learning environment. When staff asked for clarification on the best practices for classroom ventilation, we were told, if applicable to your space, have doors open and windows open with HVAC fans running. As a teacher with a second door to the open quad, I feel like I'm choosing between opening my doors for better ventilation or closing my doors because jazz combo is loud outside. As a teacher and a classically trained musician, I understand that jazz combo deserves a safe learning environment in the best interest of students, but so do the students in the H building, sitting in rooms for 2-hour blocks with masks on, cooled down by fans that their teachers have purchased out of their own pockets in order to provide students with a safe learning environment. We understand that the district cannot control a free and fair election in which citizens voted against a local bond measure. We also understand that the district has done right by installing REM Halo air purification systems. However, speaking with teachers who have taught in the H building for 10, 15, 20 years, the current state of the HVAC system during a global pandemic is an accumulation of pushing aside concerns of teachers for 10, 15, and 20 years. As professionals, we work to create a learning environment that is safe for its students. We ask that the district does this too and fulfill the responsibilities to our students and that they provide a timeline of improvements or replacement for the current HVAC system in the H building. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to say, I appreciate you coming, and I'm well aware this is not news to any of us, having been on Facilities Committee for over 8 years. We haven't had a bond measure except Measure V in that time. This is the fruition of the failure of that bond, and the reason we think carefully and why we floated the bond when we did is because it cost us money to run that election, and we can't just roll the dice and go out for a bond. So a lot of time and thought and facility assessment. We did the first comprehensive facilities assessment we had done in a decade for the bond. And let me tell you, HVAC was right at the top of the list. And I get it, it was hard. I will tell you that those of us on the bond committee, and Ms. Stein and I were the bond reps, we felt unsupported. There were times, I won't name any schools, but where we went to phone banking nights and, we had no teachers show up. And, because we knew, we personally went to every homeowners, every PFA, every city meeting. It was a full-time campaign for the people up here because we totally did get what this meant. I can't even wait. Last time we had rain, and this is 2 years ago because we were out of school last year, would we have 153 leaky roofs? Like, not like a drip, some of them pretty significant. So once the weather lets up and the rain hits, we're going to have different set of problems, or as you all noted, the cold. I appreciate the frustration here, and I wish I had better answers for you. The fact that the state does not give us money for facilities is one of the reasons we're reliant on bond measures, and we had to constantly fight this false narrative out there that the schools are just greedy, the district just wants money. We weren't trying to build a new building here. We weren't building any new schools. This bond was to bring things like that picture of the sumac air conditioner up to acceptable standards. So I want you to know we hear your frustration. We will continue to do all that we can. We share your frustration. We know it must be unbearable to try and teach in these conditions.
Mrs. Cupill?
Please know that we do hear you.
Can I just add something? This is not an item on the agenda tonight, so we cannot have a dialogue and really ask questions and discuss and debate this. So I don't want you to think that, by us not having that type of exchange with each other, that we're disrespectful. We hear you. My suggestion at this point is Mrs. Cupill thanked you, we all agree, we appreciate it, is to send this back, Mrs. Cupill, to the Facilities Committee. I know it's probably on the agenda every month. Keep it on the agenda. Really look at if there's other ways that we can pay for it. I don't know if we can do it with COP money. I don't think there's enough money anywhere to do this, but look at it to even the point that I'm going to bring up is maybe next year, if we're in the same boat, we have less students in those classes because the bodies, in good faith, what can we do that's outside the box here with a lack of $30 million? So at this point, again, we cannot deliberate and debate this, but I'm just going to ask Mrs. Cupill to bring it back to facilities.
And I know that Ms. Miller will probably be at our facilities meeting. Mr. Hochhaus used to come. You're certainly welcome to send a representative to that meeting. So for exchange of information and updates. So please know you have our respect and our apologies for a terrible situation. It's a crappy unit, as Dr. Stepp said. I can't defend it. I can't tell you it's good. It should have been replaced years ago. Going back to Measure G, but woulda, shoulda, coulda. None of us were here then, so, it's the terrible legacy we've been left with. But it needs to change. And I do promise you it is at the top of our facility needs list. We get that. So your efforts were not in vain. We do appreciate you representing.
To be candid, Measure V was actually quite visionary. Our hearts were broken it didn't pass. We had outdoor classrooms planned. Could we use those the last
Like
20 years?
real outdoor classrooms, not like
Real
a tent.
outdoor classrooms.
Like I thought the whole pandemic, we would have been, oh my gosh, those have been installed over time.
Yep. Nerf 13s would have been installed. We had fire prevention enhancements for our buildings to protect them because we're going to have another Woolsey fire at some point.
Yeah, this wasn't, like, there was no fluff in Measure V. And it was crushing not to have, a bigger swell to kind of counteract kind of the misinformation out there that there was, any kind of icing on the cake. This was like nuts and bolts. So, but we have been talking about a bond where, the sad thing is that is the only way that facilities are ever truly replaced or upgraded in California. And now we're getting, 50% less of that per pupil of our students next door. It's a struggle. But we appreciate you. I'm sorry, I know that's small compensation for the conditions you're in.
Would you like to move on at this point?
So I will, but
Okay,
I want them to know that we hear them and we value their time. I'm sure they had other things to do on a Tuesday night. So, thank you. And I'm sure if you communicate with Ms. Miller or Ms. Bergstrom, she will let you know the facility's time and schedule, and you can zoom into that meeting, so you don't have to leave campus. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I feel for them. I know it's miserable. Item scheduled for action, consent A.
Move to approve consent A?
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member? Aye. Board?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Consent B.
Motion to approve consent B.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Board only?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Action items. Number 1, certification of compliance with Ed Code textbooks and instructional materials. A motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Student board member?
Oh, wait, do we want to say what it is?
Can we, yeah?
Oh,
sure.
I mean, are we
Sure.
voting then?
We vote on the next
We're
one.
just opening the public
Okay,
hearing.
okay.
Aye. Thank you. Board?
Aye.
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 Thank you. If you'd like to
Dr. Gleason?
listen.
Madam President, members of the board, filling in for Dr. Finneran tonight, as this is her item with the oversight of curriculum. This is our annual resolution and process to share with the board the textbook sufficiency. We have, to summarize, we have sufficient textbooks in students' hands and have in digital and print, and have ordered them whenever we have students we have more students subscribe for a section than we initially have. So it's a very thorough process. Tina Johnson is at the heart of it, and that's the essence of the report.
Thank
Motion
you.
to close the oh, sorry, Angela. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Thank you. Okay,
Motion to
second.
close the public hearing.
Do you have a question, Dr. Vider?
I
Oh,
just had a comment.
oh, okay.
But I just also want to give a shout out to the media center clerks, because at the high school, this is a massive job to keep track of all these books
Yes.
and make sure that the books are organized. Excuse me. So just a big shout out, because it's a huge undertaking.
Yes. Thank you.
I have one quick question. Is it just semantics between the two different schools? On Agora's, it says getting copies from CHS on a book title, and on Calabasas, it says copies available from AHS. I mean, are they?
It's so I appreciate that question. Real quick on what Dr. Videra said, definitely worth echoing, and also knowing that they did that with thousands of new library books also in their library. To Ms. Mangus's question, it's the semantics. Yeah, so it's different. There's a number of hands on the stock, and it's
Thank you. Okay, do we have a second to close the hearing?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Student board member? Aye. Board?
Aye.
Aye.
Close the public hearing. Approval of Resolution 521, certification of compliance with Ed Code 60119, textbooks and instructional materials.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. Student board member?
But real quick, I did have a question on, oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, vote. 'Cause we're actually voting.
If you have a question, please.
Yeah, I was just curious, as I read through them all, I was trying to find a trend between between which ones were digital and which ones weren't. And I even had like a little tick chart where I was like, is it more science? Is it more math? And I could not see a trend jump out that tells me what, so I'm just wondering, is it because some books that don't have a digital option are just older adopted books and we haven't replaced them with the ones that have a digital option? Or just love a little thought on that. It was just mainly, it was curious to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So the adoptions for over the last few years have had different publishing companies have different models. Some have a consumable-based model, some have online only. And there are several cases in our district where an English program at a high school is digital, but at a middle school it's in print. A lot depends on the course, too, as we've added new AP and A through G courses. There's a diversity. Those texts are adopted in a one-off fashion that have different formula. Simple answer, there's no method other than the model of that textbooks are delivering to school districts is really more in a consumable or digital format.
So we don't foresee like in a 5-year future that these will all be digital. It's not like that what we have ones, it's not like ours that are currently not digital are older books. It's some are designed even though they're brand new adoption to have a consumable book.
I think the trend and the direction ever since Mr. Klein and the board have worked on forward learning is to continue to shift towards digital. Our next round of adoptions is in the next 3 years. And taking advantage of the deep technology infrastructure and our internet systems, our goal is to go more into the digital realm.
Great. 'Cause I know it's one of the things we talked about early on is the potential long-term budget savings by moving. I know that you still have to pay a digital licensing, but I think that we had hoped the costs would go down on the books as we move to more digital. But thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. So student board member? Aye. Board?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Approval of teacher assignment report.
Dr. Seyfried.
Madam President, members of the board, this item is brought to you in the sense that credentialing requirements for teachers can be very specific, as you know, and the state is kind enough to recognize the need to provide flexibility in this area for the particular assignment of our classroom teachers. Per Ed Code, the district has the ability to allot some folks to teach outside of their credential if they have the particular amount of experience that meets that appropriate criteria. Therefore, staff brings this fine group of teachers to you for approval for the teacher assignment report to teach outside their credential.
Thank you very much. This is always fascinating to me how credentialing works in terms of specific subjects.
It is, and it's
And-
a couple ones, like such, freshman seminar, things like that, particularly apply to this one.
Right, and there's some teachers on here who I recognize, like, that is their expertise. So to find that,
I would wholeheartedly agree.
yeah, interesting. Okay, thank you. I will entertain a motion if anyone has,
I'll move to approve the recommended teacher assignment report.
thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, student board member. Aye. Board,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. Item 4, excuse me, approval of provisional internship permit credential for preliminary education specialist.
Stips and pips, our favorite, Dr. Seyfried.
This is a popular one among some members of cabinet here. As Ms. Falk knows, yes, here to your right, as Ms. Falk knows, there continues to be a shortage of special education teachers all across the board. Should also echo, she's done a terrific job, and the team has done an amazing job with filling these vacancies. In some instances, the district has used this particular agenda item as a means to hire additional folks. In this particular case, the provisional intern permit is required for this individual for a teacher at AC Stell Middle School. The candidate that we're looking at has a degree in child development and is currently in a credentialing program to receive the appropriate credential. Therefore, staff is seeking approval for her provisional intern permit.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other questions? Student board member? Aye. Board?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Information items. Number 1, summer project update. Ms. Kimmel. Ms. Pacetto.
Madam President, members of the board, the maintenance team with all the grounds and custodial pitching in as well do an amazing job every summer. And this summer, we had additional challenges with supply chain delays. But Ms. Pacetto is here to share with you what we were able to accomplish and what the status of jobs that are in progress are right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam President and members of the board. It's so good to see you, by the way, in person.
Yes.
It has been so long, so love to see your faces. So let's talk about the summer, this past summer, and what we accomplished. Okay, I'm clicking, Jen. There we go. So this is a list by school sites of all the projects that we did complete over the summer. And some of them are throughout every school site, and some are just individual. So we do annually, we're required to do fire alarm testing, which means that we have a company that comes out, and they have to test every single alarm to make sure everything is functioning properly. And once they completed that, we found that we had some devices that we were unable to access, so we have to install some hatches in order to get to those devices so that they can test them. So they're in the process of doing that, and those are the schools listed that we have to add the hatches in order to access the devices. So,
Ms. Pacetto, don't we test them every year?
yes,
So
it's an
how come-
annual requirement.
How come they didn't find that out prior, that they couldn't be, that they weren't accessible?
Good question.
Sorry, it's like, oh.
We did replace the multipurpose room roof over at Willow. Now, we did have a company come out, and they assessed all of our roofs. So those roofs that we are unable to repair, we're trying to replace when we can. And one of them was the NPR roof over at Willow. That includes the flat roof that you see and then the tile roof. That portion has not been completed, the tile portion, because we haven't been able to get the tile. It's probably on a cargo ship out there. We also replaced 11 air conditioning units at Willow on the D and E buildings, the NPR rooms K1 and K2. So I do try to replace air conditioning units that we can afford. And these were in, I think they were 1989 is when they were installed. The PFA had a wonderful project where they added turf in those areas that you see had nothing before. So they were just kind of mud pits. And now they're beautiful and green, and it just makes the campus look so much nicer.
Is that AstroTurf?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We also replaced a lot of playground asphalt, a lot of cracks on this asphalt. And you can see the before and after at Bay Laurel. At Bay Laurel, we were delayed on getting the units. They were supposed to be in July 1. They're still not in. We're still waiting for them. So we're planning on replacing those air conditioning units over Thanksgiving break. Bay Laurel also needed a roof repair because this roof had failed, and so that's now repaired. Did I miss one? No. And then at Sumac, we replaced all of their asphalt. That was a removal and replace, and they decided to go with lots of colors, so it looks fantastic for the elementary students.
Sumac looks great, by the way. It's so awesome, and the color coding is great for where the kids are supposed to go for their COVID stuff, but it really does. When you walk on that campus, it's really kind of stunning.
It's like a happy place now, right?
Yeah.
The playground, it makes you happy. We also had a failing roof there. You can see the underlayment on the left had holes in it. We replaced that and then did the repair. We're in the process of relocating the Calabasas High Snack Shack. That was put on kind of in the back burner, and it's not completed yet, but we're in the process of getting that done. We installed a couple of offices in an old student center that is now called the Wellness Center at Calabasas High, and they picked those colors, so that'll be in use soon. We had to add a sink into the trainer's room at Calabasas High. We trenched from the snack shack down by the football field across the asphalt there to install that sink. So it's now equitable. There's a sink in the trainer's room at Agora High, and now we have a sink at Calabasas High. And at Calabasas, we had a roof repair. This is an old equipment curb. There's no equipment on it anymore, but that was causing the leak inside the room, so we did that small repair. And we also repaired a roof drain. They're in the process of getting a new guard booth like they have at Agora High School. So it should have been here yesterday. I don't think it has arrived yet. So I'll have better pictures next time. And just so you know, that's for check-in. So the students will come there and check in if it's after hours and the gate is going to be closed, because we're installing a new fence. And so the fence goes from the admin building over to the H building. It will have a locked gate there. The guard station or shack is going to be in front of that gate. So they'll check in there, and then they'll be led into the campus.
Does it have a push-through in case they need to get out for an emergency?
It does. So anytime we put in a new gate, they have the panic bars for, easy exit. We replaced the concrete over here at AE Wright.
it looks great.
Yeah, and we added a curb. Before it didn't have a curb, it had asphalt there. So now you have easy access from the crosswalk to get onto the campus. And we replaced the trees. There were 11 diseased trees there, and we added bigger tree wells and irrigation and 2 more trees. We also had to do several roof repairs on the M building. At AE Wright, you can see those are the repairs. And we had to replace the decking on these stairs and on the flat surface above, the landing above. That was leaking all through, and it was affecting the elevator. And now we have a new campus at AE Wright. It's Las Virgenes Independent Study, known as ELVIS. And we took 4 classrooms and turned it into 8 classrooms. So on the left was the original, where it showed you, regular sized classroom, and on the right shows you the new ELVIS classroom. We had a tripping hazard that was due to a tree that was there. We removed the tree. The tree roots were causing a tripping hazard outside of a classroom, so we replaced that. And this is the new garden location at AE Wright. You can see it's in the little red square on the left. This is what it looks like on the right-hand side. It's getting ready to become a garden. And so this is the proposed look of the garden, all the raised garden beds, and we're going to be working on that throughout the year. Round Meadow also had their asphalt replaced.
That looks so good.
That's so much better. And we also added a garden outside the kindergarten yard. Before on the left, that's what it looked like. It wasn't much use. And so the grounds crew built these raised garden beds. You can see what they're growing in there, pumpkins and zucchini and sunflowers. And the teacher's thrilled. At Chaparral, the PFA paid for fencing to enclose that campus. We're in the process of finishing that project. The gates should be in next week. It was really tough to get steel over the summer, but we're getting there. The playground at Chaparral has been delayed. We're hoping it's going to be in by the end of October, but it's probably going to be November. I keep checking with them, but it changes often. Lindero also has new fencing to enclose that campus. The new gates will be in this Thursday, so that project will be completed by the end of this week.
That's great.
And at Lupin Hill, in this classroom, on the left-hand side, that's how it was before, and then on the right, you'll see a little room, and we added an isolation room into that classroom. And we also changed out the drinking fountain for a hydration station, which Ms. Lola Stone is thrilled to have in the front office. At YB, this is another PFA project. We took a blank area that you see down below on the left and turned it into this amazing outdoor classroom. And those umbrellas have built-in stands, so they can remove them, but the stands are still there. As a new pathway that you can buy the bricks and put your name on it. It's a fundraiser for that. And it's just an amazing outdoor space. And here's the new fencing at Agora High School that is now enclosed that campus. You'll see this is how they did the guard station there. They have it on the other side of the fencing. We were able to put in like a window, a locking window there from the gate, so that they have easy access and safety. And this is their wellness center. This is over in the counseling office. Obviously, we're waiting on furniture, but we have the building ready for it. And this was a donation project that the site was working through, and this is the new varsity locker room. You can see the outsides were painted, they got new charger signs, and they've got new lockers on the left-hand side for all sports. At AC Stell, we got new signage and a logo, and it looks fantastic. And this is what happened the day before school.
Yes.
I don't know if any of you were around and you got to see this, but it was not the right way to start the
We
new
just
school
got
year.
the email and the pictures, gave us
Did
all a
you?
little heart attack, but amazingly got cleaned up in time.
Yeah, we were all ready for the first day of school.
Besides this, HVACs and roofing, we're in good shape, huh?
Exactly. So what happened was the Edison vault, which is a concrete vault, it's there in the asphalt. It was built over the fire water line. So the fire water line services the sprinklers that are in the rooms. And so it crushed pipe, which is a 6-inch pipe, which caused that, what you saw previous. So the repair has been done, and we've moved the pipe around the vault so that it won't happen again. And we did some concrete repair over at White Oak. This area used to be like a pond when it rained, so now it has the right flow. And we added irrigation and a couple trees there. And their playground, which is going to be the kindergarten area and the main playground, those are also delayed. But to make Dr. Stepanovsky so happy, I did have some container removals.
I love it.
So the 3 of them on the left-hand side at Calabasas are gone. Those were down by the football field. 2 of them at Willow on the right-hand side have left. We had these 2 leave our property here at A.E. Wright.
I was so excited, I took that picture from Miss Kimmel's office.
So this begs the question, what are they going to do for storage?
They have plenty of
I was
storage.
going to say, they have plenty of.
Plenty of
let's bring them back.
storage, lots of containers.
There's 80 of them on the campus, so
There's
no one misses any of these so far.
of storage.
Is there any more we
There's
can
so
take
much
off?
storage that there were outside groups that were storing things that, and there's storage containers people haven't opened and looked in. So we're going through a full audit of all containers, and literally dozens and dozens on some campuses.
It's actually a small rodent relocation plan as well.
So in other words, there may be more going on.
Oh, I can only hope.
We're looking for a
Good,
big
good.
convoy.
Good, thank you.
Yeah,
That's
we're
great.
working on it.
Can we sell them and help pay for HVAC repairs?
We're lucky
If
when
only
they haul
could
them away
bring
for
that kind of
free.
money.
So.
Yeah.
Where do you take them?
The haulers take them.
The who?
The haulers.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
recycle-
That's Oak Park Unified.
None of them are worth keeping.
Okay, that's too funny. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're giving them away. Get them out of here. Anyway, that's all I have.
I love
Wow.
when containers are removed. We did an audit a while back in facilities at our 2 high schools, because they're the biggest campuses, and they're just everywhere. Everywhere, I think there was a period of a couple of decades when there was a spare patch of, somebody would want some storage, and they'd stick a container, and they'd stick a container.
oh, that's Ms. Pacetto and the facilities team and the facilities staff. This is absolutely amazing. So many great
So
projects.
much great stuff.
Yeah.
It is.
We try.
I have to tell you, I love the Facilities Committee because you see how important it serves the educational programming at the end of the day, whether it's roofs, HVACs, playground equipment, whatever. It is so important in the lives of our students and our staff. And so just looking at things like those roof repairs, like how many buildings we have, how much there is in 14 campuses to take care of is pretty amazing. So,
I agree.
2 gold stars from Petty Cash. That's all I can offer you.
Dr. Cypress wants to borrow your slide background
Yeah,
as
exactly.
well.
Ms. Pacetto, I hate following you in these presentations. It is a tough act.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank
And
you so
thank you
much.
for being here.
Thank you, Julie. I know it was a long night, and you have an early start to your day, so
Yes.
we really appreciate all that you did. Can you pass the clicker over here by chance?
Okay.
We have dueling
What do you
slides.
think, though? Come on. Enrollment and staffing, look at that
Enrollment and
slide.
staffing, well, that excites, look at that. It's the beach. It's all ready to.
It was tough to follow Ms. Pacetto, but we stole her slides, at least for the title one, for enrollment and staffing.
Business services motivating personnel.
Trying to add some flair there, per request. All right, so every year we do share with the Board of Education an enrollment and staffing report around this time of year. We do that a little bit later in the school year, once we go through getting our class sizes balanced, so we can give the board and the public a final report on where we are with staffing for the 2021-22 school year. So to begin that, first we share a little bit about the district enrollment. You've got the numbers right up there. We are just a tad below projections there. We're projected when the school year closed to be at 10,145. When we actually did our 5-day count at the conclusion of that, we landed at 10,098. Shifts that kind of stand out a little bit, you can take a look at those 6 bullet points there. You see that our TK and Kinder is up 70, which is great news. 4th, 7th, and 8th down a little bit, along with 11th, and then 12th grade seniors up 48.
TK Kinder being up is, I'm going to cling to that as a great,
I was going to say, our little glimmer of hope.
our
I was
little
gonna say.
silver lining there. That's the one you want to be up, yeah.
You're 100%
Now, do we have
right.
any information, I know we ask this every year, any information as to where students are that left?
Not with, yeah, because they don't have to tell
It's
us.
very challenging. I think the largest number moved out of state even, and then they do not need to be in the CalPads or in the California system anymore, so we lose track of them when they move out of state and also if they go to private school.
Do you see the LA Times today? LA Unified's trying to figure out where 6% of their people went.
27,000 students
much-
missing from.
How much of the TK Kinder is Kinder? I'm curious because I know a lot of people that redshirted their kids and held them back as long as they could and then pushed them in at the last minute.
Right, we actually have a very low TK class, but
Yeah.
our kinder class is almost what it was a couple years ago.
So it's a lot of kids who were held back, who maybe would have been TK last year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good news.
Okay.
No, that's bad news, right? We would have rather had there be a lot more TKs in there as a feeder. These are.
Well,
a lot of
Kinder's still a feeder, so,
K's a feeder.
yeah, Kinder's still a feeder, so that's good news.
But it's, okay, I'm just curious, it's 2, are we happy about that number? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because we had a lot of, it's 2 years where the Kinder is condensed, because Kinder was our biggest drop last year, right? We had the biggest decrease in Kinder, but of all the grades was last year.
The kindergarten class, we've got a slide in a couple, after we go through some of our staffing situations. We do have some slides that drill down on the grade level, so it might be easier to look at when we can look at the trend lines.
Great.
I feel very fortunate this year. We had a rockin' new employee orientation. We introduced over 60 new certificated employees to the district, which is an astounding number. We feel very fortunate to have the funds from the state to make that happen. We have across the board some of the major positions as far as new folks that we brought on board. Angie and the entire special ed team did a wonderful job bringing in 14 new special education teachers.
That's amazing.
Kudos to Angie and her team and our special education teachers for being a part of that process. Also, too, I would definitely say incredible employees as well. Sometimes special ed teachers can be very hard to find. Our team did a wonderful job of recruiting and gaining high-quality employees that we expect to see here in Las Virgenes. And a couple other additions that we wouldn't otherwise normally have here are Elvis teachers, as well as our virtual teachers that you see listed there to help support with elementary instruction, and our 8 Vappa teachers. So kudos to Ms. Kintz for her work in organizing that team as she continues to build that group. And I would share too, this is a nice segue to the next slide. When you see things like 8 Vappa teachers, these were 8 positions that we didn't have before, 8 teaching positions that we didn't have before. And what happens, across the state and to us is that results in a little bit of a substitute teacher shortage. Because so many districts have so many new positions, it becomes harder to find substitutes. We know that from our first 6 weeks here, we are in need of substitute teachers. We have actively been working and being creative with different ways to hire substitute teachers, as you can see here. We have 26 folks that since August have applied to substitute positions. 9 were hired in August. We actually just hired, fresh off the newswire, 10 new substitute teachers from interviews Thursday. As long as I got a microphone here for a cheap plug. If you know any substitute teachers out there, we just decided we're going to do rolling interviews. So we're going to interview every 3 weeks. The position on EdJoin will be open. It'll continue to be open, and we will definitely work around the clock to continue to hire more folks in those positions. Next round is scheduled for October 14th. Anybody interested who has the appropriate degree and/or has passed the CBEST may apply.
Dr. Cyphers, can I ask a favor, please? When you update your slides, it's terrific having the most up-to-the-minute information. Will you please update them on the website?
docs as well.
Because mine is completely different than yours.
Yes, I'm sure the flashy slide at the beginning caught you off guard as well, so I will be sure to do that. All right, jumping into, and this also will be an update from the previous slide, so classified staffing. Wanted to provide this to the board as well, giving kind of an update of where we are with classified. It's another area in which we are quite transparently calling it like it is, short-staffed. And important to say when I share that, every district in the state is facing these same shortages. You get on the horn with anybody. I think we've been very innovative, and a lot of people are taking ideas from us, but we are still have many vacant positions. You can see campus supervisors is a need. Folks in child nutrition is a need. Clerical also not as significant as the others, but is significant. And paraeducator is probably the biggest area of need for us. On the right, you see what we've done so far. So from to the end of the school year till now, 25 campus soups hired, which is a terrific number, 3 folks in child nutrition, 5 in clerical, and then 10 paraeducators.
Are you able to be creative as far as combining hours? So like campus supervisors, if we need somebody for 3 hours a day, it's hard to find people for 3 hours a day. Are we able to kind of cobble together a full-time or a meaningful part-time job?
Definitely. In a lot of examples, like a paraeducator will pick up a couple hours as a campus supervisor at the beginning of their shift or the end of their shift. So we do try to
You
be
can see it
creative
on the
with that.
VDoc. I always
Correct.
appreciate that. I'm struck by looking at the number of hires, like, first of all, how busy you've been since your first day. But between this and vaccinations and everything that goes into it, how incredibly busy you are. So appreciate it.
It's been a wild 8 weeks, and it's our pleasure to do it. We
Yeah.
appreciate it, everybody's support. All right, jumping into class sizes. So I'll go through these reasonably quickly, and then maybe if we any questions, we can maybe hold them until we get through secondary. So this slide here encompasses all of our class sizes across the board. I'll just go through the averages. You can kind of get a sense, as in any year, you're going to have classes that are below, you're going to have classes that are above that number. So our kinder classes are averaging 23. First grade also at 23. Second grade at 23. Third grade, I also believe, is 23. Now, jumping into fourth and fifth grade, you're going to see some abnormal numbers, and that's because in our strategic plan, we allocated $500,000 to class size reduction. One thing that's very important to share when looking at this slide, the average is 24, which is an incredible number. It's I think across the board in elementary. I think it is, obviously there are some exceptions. There are going to be kinder classes that are larger. There are going to be classes here that are larger. But I would say universally, this is the lowest. I've seen class sizes as a whole. Again, not to say that there aren't outliers, but as a whole district-wide, this is the lowest I have seen class sizes. And I believe Cabinet feels the same way. So looking at our fourth grade classes, the average is 24. You see, again, there are some outliers. If you look at, the bottom of there are going to be classes across the district that are at our normal ratio. And then you'll see the same thing in fifth. So as a component of class size reduction, fourth and fifth grade, you see that we're averaging 24 kids in fourth and fifth grade across the district, which is a terrific number. And we feel very fortunate to provide that opportunity for our students in those upper grades this year.
And Dr. Cyphers, just to clarify something for anybody at home watching, is school sites are able to take and make split classes that many times will lower a class, but that is not the culture at some of our schools.
Yes.
So, that really is up to the principal and the teachers.
It's a great observation, and absolutely right. There's a slide that'll show the breakdown of the combination classes that we have. But to speak to Ms. Stein's point, our staffing average or ratio is 30.5. And sometimes what happens within that is there's going to be, if you look at a class of 34, typically what that means in fourth grade, that there's going to be a class at 26 in fifth grade. A school site has the option to make that a combination class. So, I've got that situation. I can make a combination class of 30, and it would be a fourth, fifth grade split. Some sites, do that. Other sites say, we are electing, and our teachers and staff prefer, and our community prefers not to have the combo classes, and we prefer to have that kind of, 26 in fifth, 34 in fourth. So.
Which is a shame, I think, because split classes can be terrific in a lot of ways. And now culturally at YB, they were always sort of preferred. I was always like to my kids, why aren't you in the split? Why are you not working independently? What are you doing? But I know other schools, like the parents hated the split, and there's a lot to be said for them. And somewhere I'm also hearing Dr. Dunn say, students don't arrive in neat packages of 28.
Yeah.
So, I think sometimes parents think they have the impression of them as being sort of kind of a last resort, like, a terrible situation you don't want to have, when there can be a lot of positive things for both sides of that split.
I'll echo the point. When I was at elementary school, we really embraced splits. The community liked it. You have typically independent learners in those classes, and I think there are some significant advantages that actually aren't in a standard classroom.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Can I just ask a quick question about something? The math is driving. I'm having a little trouble with the math. So, if you go to like the 4th grade slide. I think, I could be wrong, but I think the math is off on all of these. I think they average the numbers on the right and not times the number of classes, because when I do the math on this one, I see an average of 27 students per class. It just jumped out at me that there's no way the number's 24 when more than half your classes are over 26, and the delta is not big enough. We don't have any classes of 10. So I hate to ask just on the rubric, but I think that we may, unless I'm totally off of my own math, it seems like the numbers here that we somehow have the wrong averages here.
I can look at it and happy to follow up with the board with additional information on it.
And if you update those slides, we will also update it on here so we can go back and look at it.
Yes, happy to do that. All right, jumping to our secondary academic core classes. This is the first year where I can remember saying this. There are no classes over 40 at the secondary level. So want to...
Can I just say that I think this is a first in my time on the board, so just have to have a moment here. Just got to sit with it, like it's...
Ms. Kimmel may be crying inside.
Yes, I know. I know it comes at a cost, but I'm just like, yeah.
This is, it's sort of speechless.
So, Dr. Seifert, how many are at 39?
Actually, there's a lot, full transparency, there's a lot at 40. There are, I believe, 15 classes across that are exactly at 40.
I can just remember, though, when we had
40,
like
yeah.
18 one time or some crazy number.
And those are more typical numbers, and I think it's a great point to share. It's not going to be like this every year. This report is not going to be like this every year, and this is very atypical. Would share additionally, too, I think it's important to thank our counseling teams at the secondary level who work so incredibly hard on the master schedule, as well as our administrative team and Dr. Gleason at the secondary level. But special kudos to our counseling folks who put this together and have done a fantastic job at all 5 of our school sites. We have... and if Dr. Dan thought the last slide makes Ms. Kimmel cringe, she should take a look at this one. We do have 39 classes under 25. So that is, again, a historically large number for classes of that size in the ELA, math, science, world language, and social science ranges. Special situations, we talked about this before. You see the combo classes there. We do have this year 2 TKK classes. We have a couple combination classes at White Oak and 1 at Willow Elementary School. And then, Ms. Kimmel, you want to talk about these?
Sure. The numbers look small on the board there, so I'm glad. This slide did not change since you got your packet. So this just shares a trend line on our enrollment by school site, so you can see the ebbs and flows of the different schools. And overall, we continue, 5 years in a row, we've seen declining enrollment. The top recent years in 16, 17, that's when we started declining annually, and we've gone down about 12.5% since that year, just in 5 years alone. So this year being a 1.5% decline. On the next slide, we have the by grade level that we were talking about earlier. And if you combine the TK and kindergarten, sort of trying to, because it's all just, a birthday, like when does that birthday happen? Are they able to do TK and the kindergarten or just go into kindergarten? We had for quite a few years around 800 students in those two grade levels combined, but then we took the big drop last year down to 672, and we inched it up to 742 between those two grade levels this year. So hopefully that will continue to strengthen, but statewide, all districts, not all districts, but majority of districts are in a declining enrollment situation.
Mariposa, can I ask about their middle school component?
You may, yes. I'm trying.
Do you know what that is roughly this year?
It's a good question. Trying to think if, I don't think I have it handy.
Okay, that's fine.
So I don't think it's unusually different than prior years.
Right.
They still have the 3 teachers for the 3 grade,
Right.
the 3 grade
Okay.
levels.
It is nice to see kindergarten up.
If I'm reading this correctly, it really surprised me at how the the numbers of students jumped from 5th grade to 6th and then again from 8th to 9th. I didn't expect that. It's like people go from private elementary
Right, we do have
to-
a whole lot of movement at the
Yeah.
when they enter the middle
Yeah.
school and the high school, movement in and out to private school. We have a huge demand for people wanting to come into our district. So that's a whole balancing act there. All this in perspective that in 2003, we had over 12,000 students. So this is not a new scenario for us.
And we open our enrollment window in February now?
Yes.
We start,
That's when we take them.
we open our permit window for school choice and out of district at Thanksgiving, and that deadline for priority is February 1st.
And is that now aligning more with the private schools, or do we need to move it any earlier?
I think we're on a good trajectory with our
Okay.
calendar. And the open enrollment for our, kindergartners and folks like that starts in January. So
And is January a good time for that, too?
it seems like we've hit a good point. We're working closely with Ed Services to make sure that things such as the showcases happen in January, so students know, which high school they want to go to. The gate timelines are aligning to our permit windows as well, because that's the school of choice component that sort of throws us off if we're not in alignment. So we've worked hard over the years to align everything.
I know, thank you
So-
very much.
And then we did add a new slide. Did we have the?
Thank
the
you.
preschool? Or is that, no, we took it out? Okay.
We have the preschool slide.
Okay. Was it in-
Dr. Cyphers, we have it.
Yes.
It's 18.
Okay. So basically, we have a bit fewer preschoolers this year. The special needs students tend to grow throughout the year, so they always have room in those classrooms to add them as they get assessed throughout the year. And we do have a lower gen ed population, primarily because we have fewer staff members. So with, as Steve mentioned earlier, we have 20 paraeducator vacancies. 6 of those are in the preschool. So we really can't, bump up those class size numbers without the staff to tend to those little ones.
Are we focused on trying to bump that up for next year with hiring and with outreach? I mean, usually there is a wait list.
There is a wait list, but, we also have to balance the needs of where we need those paras more urgently. So that is something that Ms. Falk, I think, takes into serious consideration, so.
Okay. Any other discussions about staffing?
Thank you very much.
I think just wanted to conclude too with a thank you to everyone who's a part of the process, and even talking about our sub shortage, just a huge thank you to all of our teachers and staff who've been working around the clock to cover assignments and be flexible and adaptable, and also to our administrative team for successfully, once again, putting together master schedules and elementary alignments that are successful for our students.
Okay. Well, if we have no further discussion, then we are concluded. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.